Morning. I'm Dominik Blattner, the ITTF High Performance Manager, and I'm very delighted to warmly welcome all of you to our 35 ITTF High Performance and Development webinar with the topic Goal Setting in Training and Competition. Before going over to the introduction of our guest for today, I want to talk shortly about our webinar code of the Q&A part. Please leave your questions in the Q&A section. Our guest will try to answer as many as possible in the question and answer part of the webinar. Thank you very much for taking care of this. And now it's time to go over to the introduction of our guest for today. It's a great pleasure and honor for us to warmly welcome a great and very well-known expert in the field of sport psychology today. Ernest Tsung-Min from Chinese Taipei. He did a PhD in sport and exercise psychology at the University of Maryland in the USA. He's a fellow of the US National Academy of Kinesiology. He's a current chair professor in the Department of Physical Education at the National Taiwan Normal University. Furthermore, a current member of the ITTF Sport Science and Medical Committee, a reviewer for renowned sports science journals. He was invited to speak at over 30 international conferences, at over 300 coaching seminars, and over 400 lectures and workshops. His research is featured in books and peer-reviewed journals. And last but not least, he gained many awards for his research papers. Dear Ernest, thank you very much for taking the time. It's nice to meet you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Tsung-Min, and as Dominic said, you can call me Ernest, and I'm from Taiwan, and I want to thank ITTF High Performance Development Department for arranging this event so we can get a chance to meet and to talk, and I hope you will enjoy my presentation later on.
Dear Ernest, thank you very much for your kind welcoming words. And not just within table tennis, but also within our everyday life, goal setting is from the utmost importance. So I do think that every one of us is aware of this. But the question and the difficult task is to know how to set the goals in an appropriate way. Ernest will share with us his expertise and experience today to manage to do it properly. Last but not least, I would like to warmly welcome our well-known ITTF High Performance elite coach Massimo Costantini. So pass over to you, Max.
Thank you so much, Dominic. Thank you so much, Ernest, for being with us today. Today, guys, we have a great authority in this field. Today, it's always, I say, it's a golden opportunity for us to attend this kind of webinar, but today is really important because we are touching. Ernest is going to touch one of the things that we have insisted so many times in our meetings. Let's say like that, the goals, how to set the goals in training and in competition. We have a great presentation from Ernest, and without going forward, I would leave the screen to Ernest for your presentation. Thank you very much again, and good luck for the presentation, and enjoy the presentation.
Okay, thank you, Massimo. Now I will start my presentation. Okay, so hi everybody. Today I'm going to talk about goal setting in training and competition. And first of all, I'd like to introduce myself a little bit more. And when I was young, I was a table tennis player for Chinese Taipei for 8 years. And as Dominic had introduced that, I have gone through my academic career. I have reached to be a research fellow and for U.S. Army Research Institute, and I got my PhD from University of Maryland at the USA. And importantly, I have served as a sports psychologist for Chinese Taipei Olympic athlete for more than 20 years. And since 2003, I have been a member for ITTF Sports Science and the Medical Committee. And I published extensively in local and international journals, and I've served as an editorial board member for high-impact journals, and I review for high-impact journals as well. And currently, I'm a research chair professor at the Department of Physical Education and Sports Science at the National Taiwan Normal University, Taiwan. So the outline of my talk, I will start to talk a little bit about goal setting in general. Then after that, I will try to differentiate different types of goals. And then I will share with you about research on goal setting in sports. And then I will say how goal setting impacts performance. And lastly, it's important to provide some principles for people who are interested in setting their goals. And then finally, I will have my personal practice sharing with you that how I use goal setting for improving athletic performance. So goal setting in general, we all know that most people set goals. For example, New Year resolutions. I want to lose some weight. I want to become healthier. I want to start to learn a new skill. For example, in Taiwan, people have a New Year resolution of learning English because English is not our native language. And also, people would like to set a goal to fully recover from knee injury by a certain date. For example, April 10th of 2021. And in sports, people set a goal like something like that, want to make into the national team, and want to, in table tennis, want to improve my forehand counter drive. Want to be able to run 10 kilometers in 40 minutes. So these are all variety of goals people set. And since most people setting goals, then why I want to talk about goal setting? So the problem is not getting people to identify goals. The problem is to getting them to set the right kind of goals. So setting the effective goals and designing a program for achieving them. So this is the key, that we want to set a goal that are effective, and we want to have a program to achieve it. So this is the key point I want to make throughout my entire presentations. And I want to differentiate different type of goals, and you all may have heard of it. First of all, want to differentiate what are objective goals and what are subjective goals. Objective goals refer to attaining a specific standard of proficiency on a task, usually within a specified time. Or while subjective goals refer to a general statement of intent. For example, I want to do well. I want to have fun. And that are not measurable or objective. So people might set some subjective goal, and it's not measurable, so it's more difficult to assess whether you have reached the goal or not. And there are three types of goals that are constantly used by sports psychologists who help athletes. The first goal is outcome goal. Outcome goal is when you are focused on a competitive result of an event. For example, winning a game, earning a medal, or scoring more points than an opponent. And for the performance goal, that is to focus on achieving performance objectives independently of other competitors, usually making comparison with one's own previous performance. So performance goal is more likely to be able to achieve because you don't depend on your opponent. So for example, the performance goal is something like scoring one more point than the first set when playing against Malone. So this kind of performance goal is more likely to be achieved than B team alone. The third type of goal is process goal. Process goal is to focus on the action an individual must engage in during performance to execute or perform well. And research has shown that process goals are particularly effective in positively influencing goal for self-efficacy, counter-anxiety, and confidence. So today I will emphasize more on performance goal and process goals because these two types of goals are more likely to be ignored by players and by the general public. So what are the research about goal setting in sports? Almost all athletes use some types of goal settings to enhance performance and found their goals to be moderately to highly effective. Improving performance, winning, and enjoyment were the top three goals. And the top three preferences for goal difficulties were moderately difficult, and very difficult. And for collegiate students, collegiate athletes, the major barriers to achieving goals included stress, fatigue, academic pressures, social relationships, and a lack of time. And for the Olympian, barriers were internal. For example, lack of confidence, lack of goal feedback, too many goals or conflicting goals, or external factors such as lack of time, work commitment, family and personal responsibilities. Now, research showed that females set goals more often and found them to be more effective than males did, except for outcome goals. And athletes did not systematically write down their goals, although they thought about them a great deal. The more experienced athletes had with setting goals, the better they became in developing effective goal-setting strategies. And the number one reason for setting goals was to provide them with directions and keep them focused on the task at hand. And athletes who use multiple goal strategies have best results. And individual differences, for example, task orientations, locus of control, need to be considered when setting goals. So given this research, and we need to know how goal setting impacts performance. There are two views. The first view is indirect thought process. In this view, goals lead to change in psychological process, such as confidence and anxiety, which then influence performance. And we all know very well that confidence and anxiety impact performance greatly, especially during the competition. If a person has full of confidence, high in confidence, the person are more likely to have a better performance than those who have lower confidence. And on the contrary, if people have a high instead anxiety, the person is less likely to perform well because this anxiety will more likely to distract the person from attend to the relevant cues and also to impair their movement coordinations. So confidence and anxiety are very, very important during the competition. And goal setting process and goals, such as implementing a service, then attack strategy against a strong opponent, increase the confidence because implementing a strategy is more of under the player's control. So that's the thought process view of why goal setting impact performance. Second view is the direct mechanistic view. So in this view, goals direct attention to important elements of the skills being performed. That's why performance are improved by goal setting. The second is that goals will more likely to mobilize performance effort. And we all know that effort is very important to improve the performance, to improve the skills. So if goal can mobilize performance effort, it will impact the performance. The third one is goals will prolong performance persistence. And this is especially important when we are engaging in a very complex skills and in a very hard games that persistence is very important for performance. The fourth one is that goals will foster the development in learning new strategies. And learning new strategy is also important, especially in table tennis, because your opponent will try to study your strategy, and you need to study their counter strategy. So that's why table tennis players are constantly try to develop a new strategy to be able to be less predictive and less likely to be attacked by their opponent. The next, I would like to talk about principles for goal settings. First, what constitutes a right kind of goals? As I said, that people set goals, and why only some people are successful in reaching their goals? Because they don't set the right goals. So the right kind of goal is that the goal can provide direction and enhance motivation. The goal can help people stick to and achieve their goals. So the effect goal setting intervention include planning, goal achievement strategies, reward, and feedback. And goals of moderately difficult, both short and long-term goals. The presence of feedback on progress toward goal attainment, specificity of goals, public acknowledgement of goals, commitment to goal attainment, and participants' input to the goals in the goal setting process, and use of combination of different goals. These are the effective goal settings. So, and now I would like to just talk about each goal setting principles. The first one is to set specific and measurable goals. Specific goals influence behavioral change more effectively than the general do your best goals, because specific goals provide you a direction and also provide you a way to evaluate, to assess whether you have reached the goal or not. So in table tennis, instead of setting a goal of improving your backhand drive, you can set a goal of increasing the successful rate of backhand drive from 50% to 60%. So in this way, you will be able to see that your successful rate of backhand drive changed. And of course, if in a training session, you can set a much smaller magnitude of change. For example, from 50% to, let's say, 55% of the successful rate. In this way, the goal is very specific, and also the magnitude of change is reachable practice. The second principle of goal setting is to set moderately difficult but realistic goals. We need to set a goal that is difficult enough to challenge a player, yet realistic enough that can be achieved. So in order to achieve this kind of level of difficult, we need to know the capability and the commitment of the player to set the right level of difficulty. If we do not have enough knowledge about the capability and the commitment of the player, we can start with a less difficult one. The third principle is to set a long and a short-term goals. Both long-term and short-term goals are important, especially with complex tasks such as table tennis. In table tennis, there are so many different fundamental skills and also a lot of combination of skills and a lot of strategies that you need to implement. So to master this complex task, it takes a long time. It usually takes maybe more than 8 years to be able to reach a top level in table tennis. So for such a long period of time to develop your skill, you need to have both long and short-term goals. And so for long-term goals, it can provide directions, while short-term goals serve as intermediate steps that lead to long-term objectives. For example, you start to train your backhand stroke, and after that you can move from backhand stroke to backhand drive. Then afterward, then you can move to chiquita. So this is step-by-step process to finally reach your goals. So you can use a staircase to highlight the importance of both the short-term goal and the long-term goal. In this case, for physical conditioning, you set a goal to this is a short-term goal to run 20 minutes 3 times a week, and then you progressively increase the distance and increase the time and increase the frequency. Then maybe afterward, your long-term goal is to run 1 hour every day. So with that, you will be able to eventually to achieve this long-term goal by achieve the short-term goal step by step. The fourth principle of goal setting is to set performance, process, and outcome goals. Winning is what athletes and coaches pursue. However, if focus on outcome goals just before or during competition, this often will increase the anxiety and irrelevant distracting thought. For example, worrying too much about the score of the game and not attending enough to the task at hand. In this way, you will decrease the chance of attaining this outcome of winning. However, we can set outcome goals to facilitate short-term motivation away from the competition. For example, when you think about how it felt to lose to an arc rival, may motivate one to train harder. And adapt holistic process goals that help focus on the general feeling of the skill to be performed, dry, sprint, or smooth, were most effective in helping highly capable but anxious athletes avoid the negative effects of anxiety on performance. So the process goal is very useful, especially during performance, to avoid anxiety. And that is maybe the most important psychological factor that negatively impact performance. And performance and process goals are important because you usually can make much more precise adjustment to these goals. For example, increase the goals from 80% to 82%. So this is a very precise increment and it's a very small magnitude increment. And this is easier than the outcome goal, which often have fewer levels. For example, you either win or lose a game. And to win a game is more difficult to achieve. And achieving a performance or process goal also depends much less on your opponent's behavior. And so it means that performance and the process goal are more under your control. And so in that way, you have more confidence to achieve goal, and then you are more likely to put effort to reaching your goals. So that's the importance of performance and process goal. However, people will still like to pursue outcome goal, and the tip is that for each outcome goals, there should be several performance and process goals that would lead to that outcome. For example, winning a certain opponent as an outcome goal. Then the performance goal could be scoring more points against the opponent in each game. And process goal will be to return opponent service consistently, learn new technique, etc. So in this way, you have a lot of process goal and performance goal to meet. And if you can, each time you can achieve these goals, the distance from winning the opponent will be getting smaller and smaller, and eventually you will reach your outcome goal of winning. The number 5 principle of goal setting is to set mastery approach goal instead of performance avoidance goal. So what is a mastery approach goal? Something like improve my time in a mile run by 5 seconds. So this is a mastery approach. And for performance avoidance goal, is something like don't finish in the bottom half of the field. And we all want to have an approach goal than an avoidance goal, because approach goal will direct your action toward that goal. Avoidance goal is less effective. So approach goal is more important. The next one is to set both practice and competition goals. In table tennis, players spend huge amount of time practicing, and set practice goals can maintain motivation and increase efficacy by the goal achievement. So during everyday practice, we can set very small process goal for each type of players. By setting this small microscopic process goal, it will direct your attention and motivate you to achieve it. And when you achieve that microscopic goals, you will have a feeling, a sense of achievement, a sense of accomplishment. With this sense of accomplishment, you will increase your self-confidence. And increase of your self-confidence will more likely to increase your effort and motivation toward achieving more goals. So this will create a positive cycle for player to improve and to endure such a long hour of training. And research has shown that set goal for quality practice differentiate successful Olympic athletes from the less successful ones. So we know that quality practice is very important, and setting goal is very important for this kind of quality practice. Number 7 is to recall goals. We can use index card and place in a visible place. For example, your bedroom mirror to remind you your goal. And nowadays, there are more and more athletes. They use smartphone app to remind their goals. And in this way, your goals are constantly reminded, and you are more likely to devote yourself to achieve your goals. Next one is to develop goal achievement strategies. And this is one of the most important goal setting steps. And for this strategy, you have to be specific and involve definite numbers. For example, you want to set down how much time, how many drills, how often you want to practice, you want to devote your effort to reach your goals. And you can also build flexibility into your strategies. Take my personal experience. I set a goal of running at least 13,000 steps per day. And with this goal, these daily goals, I have a strategy that in some days I cannot reach my daily goals. However, I have a flexibility that I will make up my my lower than my target steps the following day. So I have this flexibility that I make sure my daily average for a week still maintain, above 13,000 steps per day. So this is a kind of flexibility that I used to maintain my goal. And so I don't feel that I don't reach my goal, because if I have this kind of feeling of not reaching my goal, it will lower my self-confidence. And this is not good for for my future goal settings. The number 9 principle is to consider participants' personality and motivations. And this part is maybe especially important for a coach. And research has shown that athletes high in personal standard of professionalism achievement the best goals. And for those who have a performance-oriented motivation are best using goal settings. And for the high achiever, who are more likely to set challenging but realistic goals. And coaches can use mastery motivational climate to maximize participation and effort. So these are all important to when we are considering goal setting, that we need to know our players' personality and their motivation. Number 10 is to foster an individual's goal commitment. We need to encourage progress and provide consistent feedback. And providing progress information is important, so the players know that they are making progress. So their effort is effective, and this is also important to make sure that they are confident and they are competent to making progress. And also, a second way is to involve players in the goal setting process. So a coach should not set a goal for their players. They can involve their players in the goal setting process, so they can have a player to have a choice to decide what kind of goal they want to set. And also, we can use performance profiling for players to identify their strengths and the areas they need to improve. So with this kind of performance profiling, the player will know, what are the areas they need to improve, and they can set goal accordingly. So with this kind of performance profiling, that's quite useful, to help athletes to identify where they need to set their goals. The 11th principle is to provide goal support. First of all, we need to inform and to collaborate with the significant others of the players about the goals to avoid conflicting feedback. For example, if we help the players to set process goal, like something like to improve their certain type of skills, and the goal for a competition is to implement a certain type of techniques. However, if the teammate is asking whether the player is winning a game or not, and this is an outcome goal, and this is kind of a conflicting feedback that we try to avoid. So if we can inform all the significant others, people surround the players to make sure that we are consistent about our feedback, and we are consistent about how we evaluate the performance of players, then it's more likely that the goal setting will be more likely to be successful. And the second, to provide goal support, is to show we are care about the players' progress and their struggle. So we use that to foster a caring, upbeat, and encouraging atmosphere. And this kind of atmosphere is also very important to help the players to maintain their effort and to reach their goals. The number 12 principle is to provide evaluation of and feedback on goals. Goal evaluation strategies should be initiated at the beginning of the program and continuously and consistently implemented throughout the program. For example, if the goal of the player is to improve concentration level during practice, in the feedback, the coach can give player weekly report card with a rating of from 0 to 10 scale, how concentrated the player have during the practice. So with this kind of evaluation and feedback, the player will know, how much they improve their concentration level, and this is a very important feedback that will help the players to make progress. So understand all these principles, we need to also to know how to design a goal setting systems, and they are generally have 3 stages. The first stage is preparation and planning. In this stage, first of all, we need to assess ability and needs. As mentioned before, that to have a performance profiling of the players is useful to let the player know their ability and their needs. And also we need to set goals in diverse areas, and I will touch on this issue later on. And then we need to identify influences on goal setting system and plan goal achievement strategies. Second stage is about education and acquisition. First of all, we need to schedule meeting as a coach, to schedule meeting with the players to educate them and talk about the importance and the skills to goal setting. And importantly is that at the beginning, we need to focus on one goal at a time. We don't set several goals at the beginning. So people will be able to direct their attention to just one goal. In the third stage, that is the implementation and the goal follow-up and evaluation. We need to identify appropriate goal evaluation procedures and provide support and encouragement. And also we need to have a plan for goal evaluations. Now, goal setting need to be constantly re-evaluated. For example, if we set a goal to increase the successful rate of a certain kind of service from 50% to 60%, and we found that the player easily to increase the successful rate to 70%, that we know that to increase from 50 to 60% is too easy. So in this case, we need to reevaluate the goal, and we can set a new goal to make sure that the goal is challenging enough for the player to put their effort. And also we need to know how to prioritize our general subjective goals. And we can prioritize each subjective goals using rating of, for example, A is the most important, B is somewhat important, and C is less important. So in this example, a student players can set a goal of doing well in school, and they put it as the most important priority. And spending enough time in table tennis training, that's also the most important goals. And work part-time job in maybe in this case, this is less important. And participate in social activity also is less important. So with this kind of prioritize the goals, the player be able to put their effort, devote their effort to the high priority goals. So finally, I want to share with you my personal practice of using the goal setting techniques. My first advice is to use goal setting to build up self-confidence in table tennis by setting microscopic process and performance goals that can be achieved within a very short time period. For example, hold on 5 seconds longer than previous drill during an all-out physical conditioning. So 5 seconds longer is more likely to be able to achieve within several trials. So with this way, if you can achieve this microscopic goals, then you are more likely to have a sense of achievement, and you feel confident about yourself. Second is to set goals on components directly impact table tennis performance, such as goals in the technical, physical, mental, and informational domain. For example, in the technical domain, you can set goal of 50 successful service to the backhand corner of the opponent by forehand side and backspin. So with this kind of goals during everyday practice, you are more likely to devote your effort into this goal, and you practice and you're more likely to achieve it. And also, you can set goals on how to improve your physical domain. For example, you want to decrease the running time of 3K by 10 seconds for one training. We can also set goals on the mental domain that are also related to table tennis. For example, you can practice mental imagery to rehearse the newly trained technique in the night after the training. So with this kind of goal is also achievable, and so long as you are motivated to do this, you can achieve it. And also, you can set goal on the informational domain. For example, you set a goal to watch the video replay of a major opponent, and with this goal, you can improve your table tennis performance by knowing your opponent. And finally, you can use goal setting to build up self-confidence by keep a log on goal accomplishment on a daily basis. So with that, you write down the goal you achieved, and of course the goal that you have not achieved, and then you can review on that to change your strategy. And you also frequently review accumulated goals, and with this way, then you will have a sense of achievement again, that because you are aware of how much you have achieved during the past few days. And the last one is also very important for coach to implement, is to have a teammate provide feedback on individuals' effort for attaining goals on a weekly basis. And in this way, you can use anonymous notes that you can request each player to observe at least 2 teammates on a weekly basis, and take a note on how much effort the teammates is trying to attain goals. And with these notes, that in the end of a week, that they can hand over to the coach, and the coach will collect these anonymous notes and put into an envelope, and then deliver to the players who have been noted. And with this way, that the player will receiving the feedback from their teammate, and this feedback is also can serve as an encouragement for the players to show that they have tried their effort to attain goals. And this also will increase the motivation of each players, and also will increase the team cohesion and create a better atmosphere to achieve goals. So my final words for goal setting is that we have to think carefully before trying to set a goal, and make sure that you commit to achieve your goal. If you don't have this commitment to achieve your goal, don't set your goal. Because if you set a goal without commitment, you fail to achieve it. Actually, that will impair your self-confidence, impair your self-esteem, and in the end, that will impair your table tennis career. So that will be my final words. And I want to thank for your attention, and I hope that my presentation is useful for you, and I'm willing to take questions. And if you also want to contact me, that's my email address. So thank you again.
Yeah, Ernest, thank you very much for this very interesting and comprehensive presentation. And the time flies, and it's time for our Q&A part of the webinar. But before kicking off the Q&A part of the webinar, I would also like to welcome Professor Miran Konrich, the ITTF Sports Science and Medical Committee Chairman under our attendees. So warm welcome from our side, Miran. And I would like to start with the first question for you, Ernest. Ernest, do you share with me the opinion that the outcome goals are for sure highly important, but maybe not always on the peak of the pyramid?
Sorry?
I ask you, I will repeat the question. Do you share with me the opinion that the outcome goals, they are for sure highly important, but maybe
Yes.
they are not always on the peak of the pyramid, so the most important?
Yes, I share with you this opinion that outcome goal, despite that's what coach and players are pursuing. They are always pursuing an outcome goal. That we should not set an outcome goal on every movement, on every game. So, for example, if you are playing against a very strong opponent, usually an outcome goal is to win a game. But it's very unlikely that you will beat a very strong opponent. So in this case, maybe you will set a performance goal and also some process goal. For example, to implement some kind of technique, and also maybe to increase your serving or your returning successful rate. So this kind of performance goals and process goal, this is more likely to be reachable when you're playing against a very strong opponent. And with this kind of goal, you have more confidence to achieve it. So you will be able to put more effort. You are motivated to achieve it. And over and over, if you keep doing this, your confidence will be accumulated. And in this way, you will have a stronger belief on yourself that you can achieve the goal you set, and that will be helpful to reach your outcome goal eventually.
Thank you very much, Ernest. And I have a sub-question to this first question for you. And how would you prioritize the different kind of goals in the different age categories?
Okay, yeah, I think thank you for the question. I think this is a very, very important question that, as I said, that although outcome goals are pursued by everybody, and it's important, especially in a more junior stage of development, you should set more performance goals and process goals. And with this kind of goal, you are more likely to be successful in reaching this goal. And the success of reaching this goal is very important to help you to have the confidence and motivation to pursue even more challenging goals. And with pursuing more challenging goals, you will develop your skill and your physical conditioning. And this will be very, very helpful to help you to reach your outcome goal eventually. So the younger the player, the more important for their performance and process goals. And for the more mature developed players, outcome goal is important because that usually outcome goal is something that motivates them to train harder. If they want to, for example, they want to be the top 10 players, or they want to beat certain players. For example, they want to beat a player from China, or beat a player from Japan, or from Germany. That they have a very, very clear outcome goal, and this kind of goal will also help them to endure a long hour training and to motivate them to train harder. However, during the competition, maybe an outcome goal and the performance and process goal can go simultaneously. So you have a mind, you have an outcome goal in your mind, but you have attention to implement your performance and process goal. So that will be my view for using these 3 type of goals in different stage of development and also during a competition.
Thank you very much, Ernest, and pass over to you, Max, for your question.
Yeah, well, thank you, Dominic. It's a wonderful presentation, Ernest. Unbelievable, so much, so many informations are there. I'm sure that all our attendees will treasure your presentation because it's really rich and full of interesting facts and other related things. So, Ernest, more than a question, I want to show you a scenario that can happen, from a player. I have my goal for that competition is to reach the round of 16, and I play with the player, achievable, I can beat him. But I know that to do that, I have to go for a very specific tactic where I'm not that strong. So I have basically 2 goals. One goal is the results, and the other goal is to improve myself in that particular tactical way. I succeed, let's say, 50%. In means that my improvement tactically was good, but unfortunately, at the very last 3-3, 4-3, I lost 12-10, and I couldn't make my goal to make a 6. So how to assess this kind of, goal? What was of course, results important, but other stuff also is important. Is one goal maybe killing the other one or vice versa? Can you just elaborate a little bit this kind of scenario?
Yes, thank you for Massimo's scenario. That first of all, the reason why not only focus on outcome goal is that when you are always pursuing an outcome goal, you are more likely to care too much about the result. Okay, with this caring too much, it's more likely that you will increase your state anxiety. You will become too nervous, and with this higher anxiety, it will impair your performance. So that's why that we want to make sure that you have both outcome goals and performance goals, and also process goals, all at the same time during the competition. So during each point, your goal is to implement your performance goal and process goal. So for each point, that what you have in your mind is to, as you say, implement certain kind of tactic. So your attention, you pay attention to this tactic, then you are less likely to be distracted by the score. Okay, by the point. For example, now you are at 2-9. Okay, you are 1 point behind. That if you are 1 point behind and you care too much about the outcome, then you will become too nervous and you're more likely to be distracted. And then if you are focusing on the performance goal, on implementing the tactic, then you will simply think about how can I successfully implement that tactic. So that's the importance of using that the performance goals. And people might doubt that if we are only care about performance goal and process goal, maybe that will sacrifice the outcome goal. And actually, if you set the performance goal and the process goal difficulty enough, it's not an easy goal. It's a challenging goal. They will not kill the outcome goal because this process and the performance goal will mobilize your effort, will put your attention to the right aspect of your game, and that will eventually help you to reach your outcome. So that's one point. The second point is that because of your performance and process goal that can be segmented into even smaller goals. So in one game, you will be able to set several process goals and several performance goals. So with that, you will be able to achieve several goals. So with this kind of goal achievement, you will gain more confidence on yourself, and that will be helpful for the future games. So that's why I want to say that people doubt about the performance and the process goal because they think that's easier, but you can set a challenging process and performance goal, not to set it as an easier goal. Okay, so is that I answered your questions?
Yeah. Well, it's definitely we have to get familiar with this kind of terminology that you are saying. You know, outcome goal or a process goal. Very interesting. Actually, I invite our attendees, you know, to get familiar on this because then it can help your daily work. So thank you very much, Ernest, and I pass to Dominic for your next.
Thank you, Max. Ernest, you mentioned that athletes who use the multiple goal strategies are more successful. Do you suggest to use the multiple goal strategies at any state within an athlete's career, or do the athlete has to be an experienced one to implement them?
Yeah, I think that as I presented from a slide that we have, it's better to employ multiple goal strategies. So you at each training or at each competition that you can have all the three kind of goals. And maybe for the beginners, it's easier to start with process goal for beginners because process goal is easier to reach in training. So we start in training to have, for example, in a forehand drive, that you can set a process goal of increase the speed of the forehand drive. So that's the process goal, or you can set a process goal of hitting the ball to a certain location. Let's say within let's say 2 feet diameter spot on a table. So and you want to set a goal that today my drill is to hit the ball into that spot for, let's say, 60% of my hit. Then this kind of process goal that can be achieved in each training. So with this kind of experience for a player to use this kind of goal, then the player will become more proficient in goal setting. Then after that, then you can introduce a second kind of goals. So with the progressively, that the player will be more experienced to incorporate all three kind of goals in their training and in their competitions.
Thank you very much, Ernest. And I would like to pass over to you, Max, for the next question.
Yeah, I had another question, but I think Ernest already replied, so I changed my strategy and ask you this. We know that the life of the player is very complicated. So the overall goal, of course, is to improve one's performance. But performance is made by several aspects: techniques, tactic, fitness, psychological. So how to make a good balance in goal setting, these different, let's say, abilities to be all implemented. So I mean, sometimes I should give more importance to the fitness goal, because if I get better there, then I can perform better my techniques, or more the tactical, or more the mental. So how these four let's say, major aspects of the performance can be, adjusted according to the goal setting?
Hey, thank you, Massimo. I think you also raised a very important question that how can we prioritize our goals in table tennis? And as you mentioned that several factors are critical for table tennis performance. Technical part of table tennis, physical part of table tennis, mental part of table tennis, and also informational part of table tennis.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned that using performance profiling could be a very, very good start. That you can ask the player to list what they consider are important for a successful table tennis performance. So with this first question, the player will start to think about what they consider important aspect of that are critical for table tennis. Then after that, they can rate each factors, how they feel about themselves. What are their strengths and what are their weaknesses of each part. So from there, the player will provide you information. Okay, how they perceive themselves about their strengths and their weakness. And then you can also the question that at their current stage, how will they prioritize the aspect that they need to put effort to improve it. So with that, the player, and of course you can discuss with the player that why they think that they need to prioritize this aspect. For example, they think that they want to improve their certain kind of technique, forehand, backhand, counter spin, or service or return. And then with this kind of discussion, that you will know more about how your player think, and with that, then you will be able to help them to set the right goal that the player are motivated to reach, because they agree with you that these are the most important one for them to improve. So this will be a procedure to follow to prioritize the goal that the player should set.
Good, thank you. Thank you, very, very good. I think, Dominic, we can move to the prior webinar questions. We have some received in advance. Then also we have some from the current attendees. We have several, so we will try to satisfy all the questions. So Dominic, back to you.
Thank you, Max. And I would like to start with a prior webinar question from Ellen Chu from USA Table Tennis, Ernest. And Ellen would like to know what goal setting strategies may be different during the time of the pandemic with social isolation and the limited training.
Oh, okay. Okay, I know Ellen. Ellen from Hong Kong. I know him. Okay. I think that this is a very, very, very special time, and we have never encountered this kind of situation before. So because of this kind of restrictions, due to the pandemics, then maybe at this time period, maybe the time you can use to train yourself may be limited, and also the international traveling are limited. So with this in your mind, maybe it's a good timing for us to set goals on something that are more basic. For example, you can use the time to improve your physical condition, and also you can use the time to develop some kind of new technique that you didn't have time to develop because of the frequency of international competitions. So these are maybe the something that I have in my top of my head that I can have And also, you can also use the time to learn other technique. For example, to learn some mental imagery technique, to learn to master progressive relaxation technique, and also to start to also to manage your life, to balance your life, between let's say school, table tennis training, your social life, and your other responsibilities. So during this pandemics, it's a restriction on your activity, but it provide you some extra time, provide you some extra activities for you to take care of other aspect of life. That I think that's also you in the end you'll find that you'll be thankful to this pandemic because it provide you activities to develop other things. Okay.
Thank you, Ernest. And Massimo, I do think that you have now one question of one of a very well-known table tennis player. So pass over to you.
Yeah, that is the measure of how important is this webinar. We have received a question from Egyptian champion, current world ranking number 35, Dina Meshref, African champion, Olympians. I don't know, so many national championships already won, and many more in future maybe. The question from our friend Dina is, how can a player get motivated to set a certain goal, and how can a player always be hungry, eager to win?
Okay. Wow, this is more of a motivation part of a psychology.
How can a player get motivated to set a certain goal? So
okay.
what bring to start that motivation to set the goal?
Okay. I think the first thing is that maybe it's important to have the player to be reflective on themselves, so they will know what are their dream. Okay, so to know their dream is important, and I think that a player usually have a dream of what kind of achievement they want to have. So with this at the beginning, so the player will talk about their dream. Then with the dream, then we can start to think about, okay, within the dream, what kind of goal you can set to fulfill your dream. And the goal can be a long-term goal, can be a short-term goal. Okay, so to have a dream first, then to set a long-term, short-term, and other daily goals. It will be the next stage for the player to have a motivation. And of course, important that people who will have this kind of ambition is that you need to have people to feel confident about themselves. So to think that they are hopeful, they have the hope to achieve the goal, and the hope can come from their own reflection about their past success. So it's also important for a player to know how good they are. So they will feel good about themselves. So I will say that maybe to my Egyptian friend to have some kind of a positive self-statement. Okay, so positive self-statement is a technique that people just to think about the positive side of themselves, especially in table tennis. So he can state, for example, his strength in service, his strength in returning, his strength in offense technique, and his strength in defensive technique. All kind of strengths, positive thing about himself. I think with this kind of positive statement, the player will feel good about himself. With these feel good factors, person will more likely to have more ambition to have a dream about their future, and with that, then we start to talk about goal setting. Okay, so is that I answering your questions?
Dina's question. I hope so. I think so. Yes, of course. Thank you very much, Ernest. And now we can move to the question and answers. Time already over, but it's a pleasure to keep Ernest here a little longer to answer our attendees' questions. So, Dominic, you can start with first.
Thank you, Massimo. Yeah. Ernest, the first question is from Alain Coupé from Bordeaux University. And he would like to know how to be sure the goal of the coach is also and really the goal of the player.
Okay, so I think that's an issue of communication. And as I said before, that it's important that the goal setting process can involve both coach and the players. So don't let the players set a goal themselves without the awareness of the coach, and don't let the coach set a goal for the players. So I think it's important that coach can work closely with players to discuss their dream, to discuss their strengths and weakness, and to discuss the area they need to improve. So with the discussion, and they start to think about what kind of long-term goal, short-term goal they should set, and what kind of outcome goal, what kind of performance and process goal they should set, especially for training and not only for the competition. So with that, then they both sides have a very like an open house discussion. Then the goal will be consensus for both sides. So that will be something to follow.
Thank you, Ernest. And pass over to you, Max, for the next one.
Yeah, you already announced before, Dominic. Among the attendees, we have our chair of medical and sports science committee, our friend Miran Kondric. The question for you is, could you please let us know how strong should the parents be included into goals planning when coach is planning young players' career? So how the parent, how strong should be the parents included in this process?
Hey, thank you. I think the importance of the parents is that parents is the significant others of the players. So we need to make sure that there's no conflicting, if a message to the players that, for example, as a coach, maybe a set of performance and process goals, but parents only care about outcome goals. In this way, it's very likely to create some kind of conflicting message to the players that the player might be confused that maybe the player have reached the goal, in implement a tactic in a game, but lose the game as a result, and the parents will not be happy about this outcome. So this is a conflicting message to the players. So I think it's important that when a coach is work closely with the player to set a goals, that I think they need to also to inform the parents, and the parents all agree upon these goals. So all the three parties are in a consensus about the goal that the player are working on. So in this way, then the feedback provided to the players, especially after a competition, will be more consistent than conflicting.
Okay. I hope, Miran, you got your answer, and we can keep going with the next question from the Q&A. Dominic, is your turn.
Thank you very much, Massimo. Ernest, the question is from Con Higgins, and he would like to know how often should the goals be reviewed?
Oh, sorry. Hello.
How often should the goals be reviewed?
Reviewed? You mean to re-evaluate it?
Reviews, evaluated. Yes, right.
Review. Reviewed, yeah, reviewed.
Or been reviewed. Okay. I think it depends on the progress. Okay. So as I said that usually the why goal setting fail, that is because when people set a goal, they didn't do the follow up. So we need to make sure that we follow up the goal. So for coach, then setting goal with the players, and then the coach will monitor the progress of the players. How good they have reached their goals. And if the coach spot that the player have reached the goal easily, then the difficulty of the goal should be changed to make it more challenging, to motivate the players. On the other hand, if the player constantly fail to reach the goal, it means that the player maybe didn't commit enough, or the level of the goal is too difficult. So in this case, the difficulty should be changed, should be lower, so the player have a chance to reach the goal. So follow up the progress of the player is important. So it's not something that we need to review every day, but maybe weekly or bi-weekly period is a useful way to review the goal, and to make sure that the player are achieving the goal they set, and with a great effort to achieve this goal. Okay.
Dear Ernest, we the entire ITTF HPD team, we thank you once more for taking the time to be here today and sharing your vast knowledge, expertise and experience with us related to the topic goal setting. So thank you very much, Ernest, for this.
Thank you for providing this venue for us to meet people and to share our research, so we can try to help table tennis coach and players and even parents, that we can have the big table tennis family to achieve higher and to have a more balanced life, and to be successful in their career, both in table tennis and outside of table tennis. Thank you again.
Thank you, Ernest. And also thanks a lot to our attendees, to our audience for attending. We hope you enjoyed our webinar of today. And I'm looking forward to our next webinar, which will be held on coming Wednesday, the 27th January at 2 p.m. Central European Time. Check out our ITTFeducation.com page and follow us on Facebook for further information. Ernest is so kind to share with us his PowerPoint presentation. It will be uploaded later onto the ITTFeducation.com page under the section Knowledge Base. So stay tuned and healthy. And that's all from my side for today. And I kindly ask my dear colleague Max for his closing words. So pass it over to you, Max.
Thank you, Dominic. Well, it was a great time spending with Ernest. As I said before, a lot of information, a lot of important and useful information have been given in this webinar, and I also personally will look forward to watch again once the webinar will be on YouTube, because there are really so many things that we can all treasure actually. So thanks again, Dominic. Thanks again, Ernest, for your time. Great presentation, great webinar. Thank you very much for all attendees, and see you next time, next Wednesday, 27 January at 2 o'clock. Once again, stay well, and see you next time. Ciao.
Bye-bye.